Hello and welcome to Kandu Workshop. In this video, I'm going to run you through how to put together one of my AHSF hopper wagon kits. There's not a lot of steps on these things to do, but hopefully with a few pointers you'll end up with something really nice. First thing to do is, once you get the model, just have a good look over it, make sure there's no major defects. They shouldn't get sent out with any massive issues. There's a few little spots that will need cleaning up with a file or sanding pad, but that's just part of the deal. The best way is just to start with a nice pointy pair of sprue cutters. Just remove any extra supports that are still remaining from the printing process. Majority of them I have removed, but I just leave the smaller ones on there in certain areas for trying to keep them a bit safer during transport. Just go around the whole model and try to remove any extra supports. This internal structure here can be left if you plan on putting a load in to make them look like a loaded wagon. However, if you do want to cut them out and model an empty wagon, you should be able to do that. They're just more there for during the printing process to keep the model straight. I've got a bit of a broken section here I'm going to have to glue up. Nothing too serious. We'll come back to that. The way the model prints, it's in a vertical orientation, so the bottom edge, which is the edge without the end without the air tank, there is a little bit of a rougher surface which you'll need to flatten off to get the best looking model. It's not too bad, but just a little bit of effort makes a massive difference. And there are extra supports along this outer edge here, so removing them and flattening them off will definitely help. You do want to be careful up near the coupler here. There is a small lip here that can be used later on for holding the coupler box in. So you don't want to file that flat, but you do want to make sure it's cleared out underneath. We're getting there with this one. I'm just going to have to do a bit of gluing in here, and once that's dry I can clean up them steps a little bit. Super glue seems to be the best thing. I just use the cheap and nasty stuff. I really don't need much glue for this. I'll just put a little drop on an old lid here. I'm just going to try to get some of the glue in where I need it. If I'm doing it this way, it's a lot harder to have glue running around everywhere. It's fairly runny stuff, so it will tend to seek into where you need it to be. That should clean up alright. While I'm letting that dry, we will move on to the next step. You'll get something that looks like this come with the kit. It's got a few spare steps on there. There's a fair chance that at some point they might get knocked off. Hopefully you don't need them. These little plates here are for one of the options for mounting the couplers. We'll get them out of the way. We're trying to get to these air boosters. So hopefully we're not going to need any of them. See, on here you might be able to see if it'll let us. The little linkage here has already come apart. It's just an unfortunate thing that can happen. I'm going to leave that how it is for now, and I'll try to join them back together when I'm putting them on the model. I'll remove all the fine supports first. This one here is also not quite connected anymore. That's alright. Nice pair of tweezers comes in handy for this, and they're a very fiddly little part. Now they shouldn't need much cleaning, and need just a little sand off the bottom. Now we can test fit them into the little slot that's been designed for it. Might take a little bit more off so it's a bit flusher. And that'll go in there well. Try to remove any more small supports. And you should be able to slot in there nicely. So here I've still got that little bit of super glue, just a little puddle there. We'll give this a bit of a dust out. Just an old toothbrush for cleaning random bits. Just make sure it doesn't have any oils or anything on it. That will affect the paint later on. Just try to get him to stay in there. They should fit fairly nicely without too much hassle. We'll let that dry, then I'll try to see if I can't glue that little section together in the middle there. So for the bare basics, that's all there is to add to the model. You can add as much detail as you want. Depending on what era you're modeling, they did vary quite a lot. Early on, they had extra handles and different handles and stuff down here to open the doors, steps on the end, and other little bits and pieces you can always add. In the later years, the ladder was removed, and yeah, various changes over the years. The next thing to do is to test the bogies and couplers before we go any further. Some modifications may be needed to get the right coupler heights and bogie fitment. The next thing to go through is mounting the couplers. It's just easier to do it before the bogies go on. Now let's give it a bit of a dust off here. Still keeping an eye out for any little supports that have been missed. There are some around the coupler mounting areas. The first method for mounting the couplers is to just use two M2 by 3mm screws. So the way they work is to just a single screw straight through the center of the coupler, holding it in place. It's best to just drill out the hole that's already there with a 1.5mm bit. You just want to clean out the hole. You don't want to go any deeper than what's already there or you'll go through. This is my preferred method of mounting the couplers. Clean that hole out because there's not a lot of room for the little screw to go in, so you don't want the excess stuff to bottom out the hole. So it's as simple as sliding the coupler in, make sure you got it around the right way. Should move fairly free. If not, you may need to just file a little bit out of the opening on the bottom end of the wagon. So this is the end that was facing down that has a little bit more distortion. Very minimal needs to come off though. And we just put a screw in. Just take it easy putting in the screw, just feel it in. You don't want to just go too hard and break something. The resin that the models are made from can be fairly brittle at times. Just kind of like tapping a new thread, a couple turns in, half a turn out. Just go till it feels firm. The way that it's mounted, there shouldn't be a lot of coupler drop. You do want to try to get the head of that screw to sit fairly flush up against the coupler. A little bit more. The coupler still moves fairly freely. This model was designed to be used with the Kadee 148 whisker style couplers. I personally have not tried them with the number 5s or any other version. Let me know how you go if you are running a different style of coupler. But I like the simplicity of not having to mess around with the extra springs and all that. Just plop it in and it works fine. The second option is using these little cover plates that have come off our other little section that had the spare steps and pieces on it. And how this works is this will slide into a little slot up under the end here and in here. So give it a bit of a clean up first. It is a little bit oversized, so you can trim it down if you wish. Now this bit can be fairly fiddly. If it feels too tight, you might have to just file a little bit off the end. Make sure it goes in square, otherwise it will not go all the way. Looks like it's going to fit, so we'll take it back out and put the coupler in. Might just file a little bit off this leading corner so it slots in there a bit nicer. So that's just slotted in there fairly well. See if we can focus on that a bit. So that can be glued in place. You could possibly leave it without gluing it. However, the bit of glue will help it stay there for the long run. Personally, I prefer to paint the models without the couplers in them. So that's up to you how you want to do that. You can glue that now and then paint the whole lot together, or you can put it in after and even brush touch up that piece. Alternatively, if these parts aren't any good, the bit that comes with the couplers, so you get your little gearboxes and whatnot, the lid should also fit in there as well. Just like so. Push it down. The hole in the middle won't line up, so don't be alarmed about that. That's the second option. Once again, just push it up again, hard up against, and a bit of glue, and that should stay there forever. The next thing is to test fit the bogies. I like to do this now and then test the coupler heights before any painting happens, so I can make any modifications that I feel are necessary. So with this little lip around the hole here, I added that when I was testing the model with the Orient Express models bogies. They got a larger hole in the middle, but I was using M2 screws still, so this just worked for me. Feel free to drill that out to whatever size screw you are supplying with the bogies or whatever comes with them. You don't want to go too small so that you have to force the screw in, because it is possible to damage the model. You just want to get a nice decent size, nice tight fit so the screw holds. So I'm using these steam mirror bogies, so I'll need to be removing them because the hole's not big enough, and if I leave it on that, the model will be way too high and it'll rock around. So it's going to file that off. Try to keep your file as level as possible. This will affect how the model sits on the tracks. So once again, I'll be using the M2 screws. Now these won't be supplied with the kit, that you'll have to supply whatever screws suit the bogies you will be using. So I'm going to just drill this out again with the 1.5mm. You don't want to drill too far because it will come up straight up through here if you go too far. Once again, you want to make sure the hole's cleared out so the screw's not forcing any stuff in there and bottoming out sooner than it has to. So here we have just about one complete model, minus paint. So let's test out the couple of heights and see how we go. To me, they're looking pretty good. Possibly a smidge too high, or I prefer to run on the higher side of the scale, if anything, just to avoid the little tail of the coupler hitting anything on the tracks. Yes, same at that end. I'm very happy with that. So with that, the next step is to remove everything again. I'll clean up the spots that I've had to glue up. That should be dry enough by now. And then we can continue forwards with painting the model and reassembly. keep on a lookout for any spots that you may have missed, any little areas that can be touched up. Once again, this is the bottom end when it was printed, so these areas here did have some fairly hefty supports on them. So just trying to make it all flat again. You'll be able to see any spots you've missed once you've primed it. You can always come back and do more sanding or a bit of filler or whatever you feel is needed. Might try my luck here with this little section on the brakes that I might glue together. Alright, so what I've done there is I couldn't get the little piece back on that actually broke off, so I just found a little bit of the support material that was laying around, and I've stuck that in there and dropped a bit of super glue over it. So once that dries, I'm just going to try to trim that end off, and that'll do for me. This guide is just to show you the basics of putting this kit together. I'm not going to go into detail about masking and airbrushing too much and applying the decals. It's day 2 now. I've finished painting and applying the decals to the model that I started yesterday. And here it is. Pretty happy with how that came up. Got some custom made decals on here. They may be available at some point if I can keep the process of making them nice and easy. Overall, I'm very happy with the way these turn out. Can't even tell where we had to fix that ladder up there. So I've got a couple of these finished now. Individual numbers on them. And also for the SAR modelers here, got one just in the simple grey. Haven't got any of the decal boards made up yet. That is something I'm looking into. Obviously, back in the SAR days, there were extra details put on them, but just for the purposes of what I'm doing here, I'm quite happy with how this looks. I'll take some photos and put up on the screen now for you, see how it all looks together in a bit of a row. If anyone wants me to do a video on painting or applying the decals or any other steps involved in building model railway carriages, let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to put something together. I'm no expert by any means. I just been at it for many years, picked up a few tips and tricks along the way, and I'm not in it for super high detail or quality overall, but something like this I'm very, very happy with, and I'd be very pleased to have a dozen of these in a nice long train going around the layout. Please do like and subscribe, and check out my online store, and check me out on Facebook and Instagram to stay updated. There is also a mail subscription through the website where I will try to send out a few emails every now and then to keep you posted. Thanks for watching. Hope you've learnt something and got something out of this video. And please, yeah, let me know. Send me your pictures of your finished models, how they look. Any questions or comments or suggestions, I'm all ears. Yeah, I'm just trying to make some decent models that are affordable and something that's not readily available on the market at the moment. Let me know if you would like me to make extra information. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, or you can contact me through my email, kanduworkshop@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at Kandu Workshop, also the same on Facebook, and check out my online store. I'll leave links down below. And happy modeling.